Hi everybody, it's the Golden Soundtwice.
And willzgirl.
And so, as you can tell from our clothes, that we are recording the second video all in one night because she leaves me tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Oh, there went my
You
hair.
look very pretty.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Alright, so this is the part where we probably click the FX thing to get the little hearts
Yeah.
on our head. Figured out, as you can tell, I'm using my computer camera because I can't afford a good camera right now.
But she can when she gets some more subscribers.
Hey.
Subscribe.
Okay, so we wanted to talk about some of our favorite shows, favorite fandoms that we enjoy. We're both huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans. How to Train Your Dragon, Redwall, and the list goes on and on. But right now for this video, we're going to focus on How to Train Your Dragon.
Specifically Race to the Edge,
Yes.
the Netflix show.
Which is really good, and we'll tell you why.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off with a list of the characters and kind of what we think of them.
See. Can we start?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I made a couple of notes, but I'm going to quickly say when. Is it okay if we say when we saw it?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
So I actually, I saw the original show that was on Cartoon Network. I think the first one was Riders of Berk, and the second one was Defenders of Berk. But I don't know. They may have just been all called all the same thing. Someone in the comment section is going to tell me, I'm sure. But so I did have a little bit of background on that. But I did start watching it at the beginning when it first came out in 2015. And you?
I first watched it, I think it was about like two months ago, maybe like not even 2 months, like maybe about like a month ago, like
it was about a month ago.
Yeah, about a month ago, because I remember. So Ellen here has been trying to get me to watch it for a really long time now, and hadn't been able to, and then wasn't feeling good, so spent a weekend binge watched everything, and then Netflix crashed on me.
Yes,
and I was
that.
so unhappy. But I loved it so much because I loved the first movie, loved the second movie. Gosh, it's so good, so good.
Very good, very good.
And the book series, I found it the other day in Barnes & Noble, and I plan to start reading that as well.
It's intense. Like, honestly, the book series, I mean, a lot of people can say a lot better than me because a lot of them, there's a huge expert, there's a lot of experts on Tumblr, especially that are very well-versed in all this, but, like, it gets really, really epic and very cool and silly and fun.
Yeah.
Just like the movies.
Yeah, so definitely I think it's worth everybody's while to check them out. I know I'm going to soon. But anyway, so yes, we have a list because we are...
So just because we do want, just because some of people are going to be coming in who are just movie fans or just book fans and who have never seen it before, give a quick summary of just some of the circumstances. So this place, so the Race to the Edge, I think is supposed to take place about 2 to 4. Okay, we know that Hiccup, and everyone knows that in the second How to Train Your Dragon movie, it's specifically stated that Hiccup is about 20 when that happens, and he's about 15 in the How to Train Your Dragon. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah.
And I think that in the Riders of Berk, they're trying to assume that he's about 15, 16. So I think what happened, I know they say it for sure, but I think it's supposed to take place like 3 to 4 years before How to Train Your Dragon 2. So it's a prequel to How to Train Your Dragon 2, sequel to the original How to Train Your Dragon. So it takes place, I think they're supposed to be like 16 or something, or a little younger than that. So it takes place, it takes place in Berk, and everyone is kind of doing their own thing. And then Hiccup, at one point, finds a item. It's called the Dragon's Eye. It really looks like a kaleidoscope, and anyone who calls it a kaleidoscope, you're not wrong. You're not necessarily wrong.
Pretty much.
But it's this mysterious item that contains a lot of information. So they go off searching for new dragons and stuff like that. And they come to this island. They call it Dragon's Edge. I'm not giving away anything, trust me. And it's all about the shenanigans that happens once they get on Dragon's Edge, and they stay there, and they meet some natives and stuff like native dragons and stuff like that, and do a lot of research and run into old friends and new friends and stuff like that. So it's a fun time. It's an episodic show. So it's, especially for the first season, I think you can agree that it's kind of like an episode by episode.
Yes.
Most of it is a kind of, it's kind of a Monster of the Week style episode, where they introduce a new dragon and stuff like that. But then when you get onward, then it becomes more of a season-wide story with some episodic stories.
And
so
especially...
Again, yeah, go ahead.
Especially when they start running into the villains of the show, and then it definitely becomes more of like a saga in a way, seasonal, and like just trying to deal with the villains, which were really great. Yeah,
that's awesome. So I will warn people of that. That is the setup of the show, because people some like different kinds of shows.
Right.
I will also say quickly about the animation. The animation is actually incredibly good, and it really does pick up through the seasons. I will say, because I know someone's going to complain about it, yes, I understand it's not as good as the movies. Yes, we're going to get that out right away. Movies have way bigger budgets. What it is, you can say what you think about it. It's very good.
It's
very
good. It is actually much better than Riders of Berg.
Oh, it's so much better.
That is actually why.
That is so much better.
That is why I couldn't watch it, because while the story writing was very good, the animation, I'm very much an animation snob, and I just couldn't do it. But there are certain episodes that I will go back and watch because they were very prevalent to
what happens later.
Right. Defender
to Race to the Edge.
Race to the Edge, yeah.
Okay, so while that's out of the way,
CGI is very good, guys.
Yeah, it's very good. So and it gets better. Like they introduce water a lot in the second season, I think, and they start going underwater and stuff like that.
And
it's really
water
good.
is very obviously we're not animators, we don't know anything about that, but I like to watch all the behind the scenes for all the different animation and CGI movies, and you know at this point in time, water and fire are extremely difficult elements to animate. And they make it look so real. They make it look just incredible. It's like it becomes characters of its own, essentially. The element is a character of its own. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
I love the way you say that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So with that out of the way, that's the summary. That's sort of the basic storyline. It's very simple. It's very easy to get into. And for most of the time, there aren't any huge references, with the exception to the original Riders of Berg, Defenders of Berg, with the exception of a couple characters, which we're going to get to. But let's start with the main characters that everyone knows. One thing I should bring up, which Riders of Berg actually established, but Race to the Edge builds on it tremendously, is what I will say about the Dragon series, which is wonderful, is they give a lot of time to the supporting characters.
Yes.
A lot of times. And not only the supporting characters, but their dragons, too. Like, they're really good at establishing personalities for the dragons that really complement the riders that they're for, and we're going to get to that. With one exception that I am going to bring out, because what I think we'll do is we'll talk about characters and then positives and then a few negatives, because I do have a few negatives and I feel like that's fair to bring it up.
She's very passionate about this show, if you can't tell.
Anyway, so let's get started. And because I've been involved with I've not exactly been involved, but I've been on the edge of the How to Train Your Dragon fandom. I know a few more of fandom reactions, so I can bring that up a little bit to you and see what you feel like and how you agree and how you don't agree.
Absolutely.
But let's get through to the characters. We may have to edit out some of this. This is really long. So we're just going to go from the beginning. Let's talk about Hiccup. His role in the story and how he's portrayed.
Son.
The great thing is they've got a lot of the voice actors to come back.
Yes.
Jay... How do you say his last name?
We're not even attempting right now.
Okay, but original voice actor, they got Hiccup back. And as we go through the characters, we'll say whether they got their original voice actor
right.
again.
He just, oh gosh. I love Hiccup because essentially I feel like so his dad, Stoick the Vast, is the chieftain, and
it's, I will warn you, it hurts the first time you see Stoick.
Yeah.
It hurts the first time. But he's given even though he's not like, he's definitely a supporting character. But when he comes in, he just owns it.
Oh, he does.
He owns it. But we're going to get to Stoick. Let's focus on Hiccup.
But essentially, though, it's the fact that, Stoick is the chief of the entire island, and I felt like in this, Hiccup became, like, the chief of his miniature island, of his miniature tribe, and he takes it very he takes it very seriously because he realizes that every thing they do and don't do can either add or subtract to like the rate of survival. And sometimes he can't. He's kind of like a mother hen in some ways as well. He's just trying to get the kids to eat their vegetables, go to bed on time, and they're not doing it. And he's just like, you know, 4, give me strength. And it's a really great dynamic to watch. And the sass, I will say, I love sass, I love snark, and it was great. All the characters are
is good
sass
because
masters.
Because Hiccup is known for his snark. Like that's one of the reasons people loved him in the first one. So it's definitely present.
Much.
Yeah, I will warn people that sometimes it's not as present in certain episodes. So, that's definitely something you can mention once or twice. But for the most part, it's pretty present.
Right.
The snark is strong with this one.
The snark is strong with this one.
Yeah.
Yes. So I just loved his role of that he is a responsible leader. He cares about everybody. And yeah, he definitely has days where he's like, all right, I'm just going to tie everybody off and, toss them off a cliff and we're good. Call it good. But no, he's really there for everybody. He has everybody's back. They all need to listen to him more. Yeah. We literally would not get into half the shenanigans that we did if it wasn't listening if they didn't listen to Hiccup.
Yeah.
But do they? No. But, that's what it means to be a leader. And he understands it. He owns it. It's the cause of his ulcers. He's lived with it.
Yep. Yeah, I think that Hiccup is honestly, very well portrayed. And it's actually funny because, this is when I'm going to bring up some stuff, and I'm curious about your reaction. I don't know, from what I've seen online, it's kind of a mixed reactions, actually, to Hiccup. Some people really, really like the way he's portrayed. Other people think that he's too mean at times. And some people think he's a little too uptight, and some people say that he's very, very arrogant. And I actually think he is a little bit at times. Not Snotlout level of arrogance. We'll talk about Snotlout in a second. I actually think that they do a really good job at portraying him. I think, again, that one of the things that I was a little wondering about with How to Train Your Dragon 2 is you don't really know how much experience Hiccup has. So when he is about to be given the chief role by his father, you just don't really know. And I think with Race to the Edge, you really get the idea that he has learned a whole lot by that point, and it makes a lot of sense. One thing that I'm sure you probably were going to bring up, there's some beautiful moments where Stoick is around, and he actually sees Hiccup commanding and doing the island, and the animators are very, and the directors, I'm sure, I don't know who's in charge of this part, but there's a lot of close-ups of Stoick's face at that time, so you can tell he's really paying attention, which adds a little bit more to the fact that you realize that by How to Train Your Dragon 2, he knows Hiccup can do this.
Because you're watching How to Train you brought this up, watching How to Train Your Dragon 2, and all of a sudden Stoick's like, oh, time to be the chief, and you're just like, oh, wait a minute here.
Yeah, because at that point Hiccup is gone off and is never around.
And you're just what qualifications does he have? Yeah. But they establish in this, on the Netflix show, of how he has learned how to prioritize, how he's learned how to create strategies, how he's learned how to, he's figured out the weaknesses and the strengths of his team members, and he's learned how to bring out those strengths, how to aid those weaknesses, and so and there's several times where Stoick will go to take over a situation, and Hiccup will intercut him or intercede him.
That's a great scene.
Sentences. Yeah.
There are two scenes like that.
Yeah.
Those are great scenes.
And just cuts him off, and he's like, okay, you go do this. Astrid, go do it. Go do this. Go do all these other things. Right? Stoick is just
he's really proud. Honestly, I think that some of the scenes with Stoick and Hiccup in this show is my favorite. So every time they're together on screen, it's just magic.
It is.
It's wonderful. So I think that Hiccup is really fantastically done. One thing that someone's brought up, which I actually agree with this Hiccup, you see him being very confident in his leadership abilities. I'm really I'm really curious of how they're going to transition this Hiccup, who seems like he would be like totally ready to take on the island, to the Hiccup that we see at the beginning of How to Train Your Dragon 2, who's very self-conscious about it and is kind of going off and doing stuff. I do feel like there's going to be a situation that he falls into that's just going to go really badly.
Right.
And something's going to happen. So what I'm kind of trying to say is there is still a lot of room for him to develop further in the series. But as it stands, I really think that I love him. Yeah. I love him in this series. I think that he does a great job. I think he's totally mother henning.
Great.
And again, we're going to bring up Toothless next, but his friendship with Toothless is still there. It's still strong. It's still wonderful. I will say to people who complain that there's a little less Toothless and Hiccup, yes, that's true. But you see, we're used to How to Train Your Dragon movies where it's all about Hiccup and Toothless. So of course they're going to get less time. You got to focus on other people. Right. But I do think that they definitely have their moments, especially as the show goes on. They're really, really great. And I really feel like you really are seeing Hiccup's kind of journey. From How to Train Your Dragon and How to Train Your Dragon 2, I do kind of feel like this is where he would be. Mm-hmm. It feels real to me that's sort of where he would be at that point. So yeah.
Before we jump over to Toothless, to give a quick feign, it just dawned on me when you were saying that. I think that Hiccup has that confidence over his friends of being a leader with his friends, like this small, intimate group that he's always been with. Yeah. At least since How to Train Your Dragon, the first movie. Yeah. And, but, like, his dad is asking him to be the leader of the entire island. Which is a
huge change.
It's a huge change. Yeah. It's, because that involves people who are not dragon riders. That involves people who...
Well, I mean, by the How to Train Your Dragon 2, everyone's a dragon rider.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
Which, again, we have to see that in this series. Right. Probably at the very end we'll mention, like, everything the series still has to do. Like, we still have to be introduced to.
But it's more of like, I think that it's like, even though, okay, so you did bring up a good point, that, like, they all are, at this point, they are all dragon riders. Yeah. But still, not all of them have been under Hiccup's like supervision, so he doesn't know how they will react. They don't know how he will react. True. So there is not that level of trust and bond that he has with his smaller group. Definitely, because I could see him being very content to be with the smaller group.
I could see that,
for,
definitely,
like years. And then his dad's like, "Be the chief," and Hiccup's like, "Ha ha ha ha, bye."
Yep. Oh, yeah, is that good?
Yep, that's
okay.
It. Yep.
I'm gonna say one thing, Krista, because I read this online, and I'm just gonna watch her reaction. So they said, you know how the last episode of How to Train Your should be? Hiccup wakes up in the morning. The sun is shining. There are terrible terrorists singing on the roof, and he walks down sauntering to breakfast. Yes! Dad just looks at him and says, "Son, we need to talk." I agree. That should be the last episode. Yes! I just wanted to see your reaction. Okay.
I'm dead!
So next is Toothless.
My dragon son. I am Toothless spiritually. Like, he's just... So Toothless. Mm-hmm. All right.
So you get everything that you had for Toothless in the first movie and the second movie. Like I said before, yes, there is less Toothless than we want. We always want more Toothless.
We do.
We always
Absolutely.
Want more Toothless. But it's Toothless. Like, you still get the attributes, you still get the cat-like things, you still get the friendship with Hiccup. I feel like you get everything that you want. And unfortunately, Toothless is just so damn likable. You just keep wanting more of him.
It's so true.
You never feel like you get enough Toothless.
It's so true. Therefore, you never get enough meat.
Yes.
But anyway, no. What I loved about Toothless was that, much like Hiccup, he's kind of taken a role of being a leader of the dragons.
Yes, definitely.
However, unlike the dragon riders who like to question Hiccup all the time, the other dragons actually hardly ever question Toothless. They're just like, okay, cool. No. You're the Night Fury. You know what's going on. We cool with this. They're very content. Yeah. And what's really fun is to see how the dragons react to each other, because they're very fierce, very deadly creatures. But once they all trust each other, they're like little kittens and little puppies playing with each other. Yeah. They do have their moments where they'll snap at each other. It's very rare for those moments to ever happen. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, once the dragons trust each other, they're completely there. They are completely just very loyal to each other, and it seems that they've accepted Toothless as their leader, and they are, whatever Toothless wants them to do, they're more than willing to do it.
Yep.
And so, like, while I've seen everybody question Hiccup, never once have I seen any dragon question Toothless ever.
Yep.
And also, I love the fact that Toothless. So throughout the series, Race to the Edge, we start seeing Hiccup's dragon glider. Is that the correct name for it?
It was first the Dragon Glider. The first name for it was Dragonfly 1.
Yes, Dragonfly 1, yes. So we get to see Hiccup playing around with that. And let me tell you...
those scenes.
Oh, those scenes are great, because Toothless becomes...
He's not having it.
He is such a mom. Toothless is such a mom. He literally is watching this going, you're going to break something... and or die, and I'm going to have to pick up the pieces. I am not okay with this bullshit. And what does Hiccup do? He just goes off and does it anyway, and Toothless is like, y'all seeing this shit?
Yep.
You seeing this shit I put up with?
Yep.
Which, another interesting fact also is that while the other dragons do not sleep with their riders for the most part.
Yeah.
However, Toothless always sleeps with Hiccup.
Yeah.
So you know that, like, while the other dragons and their riders have a bond, it just shows how much closer and much more special the bond is between Toothless and Hiccup.
Yeah.
Not to mention, in an event where Toothless would need to fly away and would not be able to, Hiccup needs to be there for his safety.
Yeah.
And, which is another interesting thing, because in the second movie, we see that at this point, Hiccup has created a little, an emergency brake of sorts, keeping the tail out. He has not invented that yet throughout the series. And so there are definitely times where Toothless can't fly without Hiccup's help. So they are very codependent on each other. And, but just the way that Toothless loves Hiccup, he's willing to sacrifice himself for Hiccup. It just makes me so happy. But essentially, sassy. I identify with sassy Toothless, like Toothless that doesn't want to deal with the bullshit anymore, but people do it anyway. And just like Toothless just kind of looks at the camera, like at how you would in The Office, and he's just like, no.
Can we talk about the underwater scene from season 4?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Please do.
To one of the great scenes of season 4, there's an episode where Hiccup gets trapped underwater in like a submarine sort of thing. And so Hiccup's inside and water's coming in and Toothless is on the outside. And then there's this amazing scene, because Hiccup has his hand on the glass, and Toothless, to me the saddest part was when Toothless comes forward, you see him banging his nose on the glass and comes out and realizes he can't get through, and you just see this heartbroken expression on his face, and Hiccup says, "I know, bud, I wouldn't leave you either." So that scene really just shows that how well they understand that relationship. And that's amazing, and it's heartbreaking.
It is so heartbreaking.
Some points of their relationship are genuinely heartbreaking, just how much they love each other.
It's this pure, like, just this pure love, that just,
there's one other Toothless scene that I want to bring up with you, because you probably remember this. One of the things that I love is that not only do the dragon riders the dragons treat everyone kind of individually. One of the things I like is that the dragon riders kind of treat the dragons separately from their dragon riders. Like, one of my favorite scenes is there's a scene where Toothless, I think, sprays water at the twins. I think he sprays water or he's throwing snow at them or something. And then Hiccup, and then I think Tuffnut yells at Hiccup or something, yells at Toothless, and then Hiccup says, "I told him to do that," and Tuffnut says, "Not cool, T." So, I mean, it's hilarious, but what I like about that is that he realizes that Toothless had a choice in that. So, like, I like the fact that the dragon riders treat the dragons as individuals. Like, Tuffnut knows that Toothless is Toothless. He's not like Hiccup's pet or something like that. He realizes that they're their own beings, and I don't know, I really like that.
Yeah, no, like they respect the individuality of the dragons. Yeah, and it's great. So yes,
awesome.
On to our next character,
Astrid and Stormfly.
Astrid.
You ready if I start?
Yes. I just want to say we all wish that we were Astrid.
Yeah,
we all do.
Yeah. One thing I will say, and this is a complaint, so I guess I am kind of doing the complaints and the positives at the same time, which is fine. One thing people have said is I think Astrid gets some of the least amount of time in the show, like individual episodes to her, and I actually agree with that. I think we could use a lot more Astrid, individual Astrid. So I definitely agree that, so if you see the show and said, like, hey, we could have used a lot more Astrid, I completely agree with you. I think we could use way more individual Astrid, way more Astrid. And also Stormfly. I think that, unfortunately, I think that out of all the dragons' personalities, I think Stormfly is a bit the least developed out of all of them.
Yeah, that's true.
But, so this is the negatives of this. I'm going to mention the positives, too. So I agree. We could have used a lot more of Astrid. But to the people who say, like, we don't give it enough, I would encourage you to wait until season 2. Because the first couple episodes of season 2 are very Astrid-centric, and very good. Astrid is great in the fact that she's kind of in some ways the perfect henchwoman. She's the second in command of Hiccup, and she's basically mom to his dad, or dad to his mom, whatever.
Both.
So, one thing that people kind of get pissed off about is it takes them a long time to really establish that Hiccup and Astrid are in a relationship, and again, I agree. But I think when you get to it, it's very beautiful. And the good thing about it is they really do feel like a team. Even if you don't think they feel like a couple at that point, they really do feel like a team. And a lot of times Hiccup will say, like, I rely on you. So you do have that. So on to Astrid, personally. She is very kind of this by the rules. She's very stern. She's very tough, which she was before. She's kind of the leader that takes over when Hiccup's not around, stuff like that. And she does get some incredibly good development in season 2. Probably one of my favorite team-ups was Astrid and Tuffnut. That happens later. And the nice thing about that is it really talks about how the different personalities that these friends have really clash at certain times, just how different Astrid and Tuffnut are. But the best thing is they don't say either one of them is wrong. Like, you think Astrid's and I think a lot more people could relate to Astrid in those kind of situations.
The twins will make you.
Yeah, but at the same time, the twins do bring up some really good points about how Astrid, like, is a bit too unflexible at times. So that's really great. I think that Astrid gets some really nice character moments, especially in the second season. I think that one of my favorite things is there's this character named Heather that was introduced in Riders of Berk, and Defenders of Berk, and she comes back. And she develops this really strong female fighter friendship with Astrid, and that's just fantastic. It's a wonderful friendship to witness. So we definitely have that, and then we get to see a lot more development of her relationship with Hiccup later on, including the fact of 3 kiss scenes now, to be fair, it's in season 4. So you have some time. Which I just love because, like, so many fans were just kind of complaining about the fact that they get kisses, and then the director's like, we're gonna give you all the kisses. All the kiss scenes. But I think Astrid is definitely the Astrid we know. We're definitely seeing the relationship blossom with her and Hiccup. We know we know from apparently the comic is that she takes over kind of a general position. Like, she's going to have sort of a general position in the 3rd movie. So you really see the start of that. So, like, she's very battle oriented. She's probably, like, the most skilled in battle tactics. Much more than even than Hiccup.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, much more than that.
At one point in time, she starts training the A team for
another group of dragon riders.
Right, for when the our dragon riders, you know, the main heroes can't be on Berk, so she's training them. She is relentless, and she
like army general.
She is though. Like you don't give her the right answer, drop down and do 20. You do give her the right answer, drop down and do 20. She is absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, just very military, very battle oriented, and she's doing it all for the greater good of the island, which sometimes she gets so stuck in that she doesn't, that she is too strict at times. But it is great when she does cut loose, when she just lets her spirit soar, and you really get to see that when she's with Stormfly. Like, there's something about Stormfly that just, like, lets out that that freedom, that the part of her that loves to be in the sky, the part of her that has no attachments, that has nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. She just gets those few glorious moments on Stormfly, and they animate it just so beautifully. They show her excitement when she's in the air, and it's just this whole other side that you get to see of her that is very rare.
It's great. It's incredible.
It really is.
It's something that I really hope that they can continue that in this season, and also in the movie, the third movie, when it comes out.
Well, and I think that we're running out of time here, so we'll probably have to make a part 2 to this. So our next characters will then be Snotlout and Hookfang. So that'll be fabulous. But anyway, so on to the second video. The Golden Sound Twice out. See you in a bit.